There's a folding table at the end of a gravel driveway about 4 miles from my place. Somebody's mother died in March. On the table there's mason jars, a bread box with the paint coming off, and a cast-iron skillet sitting out in the sun with rust across the cooking surface, the color of dried blood. You can smell it before you touch it. Old iron smells like a penny, and a wet basement at the same time. I picked it up. It left orange dust on my thumb. On the bottom there was a number 8, a heat ring, and no pebbling at all. The cooking surface underneath the rust was ground smooth as a river stone. That's a machining step that stopped being standard in American foundries around 1960. $2. The woman running the table apologized to me for the condition of it. She said it was ruined. She said her mother should have thrown it out years ago. It wasn't ruined. It was about 90 years old. It was in better shape than anything you can buy in a store tonight for $200. And the only thing wrong with it was a layer of oxidized iron about as thick as a coat of paint. 3 days later, I fried 2 eggs in it and they slid. My name is Hollis Ward. I've worked the same acre of clay for 31 years. I've got 11 hives on this hillside. And in my kitchen there are 4 skillets, 1 Dutch oven, and 1 griddle. And the newest piece in that whole collection was poured in 1952. I have never thrown away a pan in my adult life. Not one. Not ever. Stay with me through this one. By the end, you'll know the exact 3 things to buy, what they cost at the grocery store this Saturday, how many hours it takes, what the pan will look like when it's done, and why the people who sell cookware would rather you never learn any of it. Before I go one step further, I want to get 3 things out of the way, because you'll find all 3 of them recommended online tonight, and I'm not going to pretend they don't exist. The self-cleaning oven cycle. It works. It runs around 900 degrees, and it burns everything down to gray ash. It also warps thin pans. It can crack a piece that has a hidden flaw in it. It fills your house with smoke, and every oven manufacturer I've read tells you in the manual not to put anything in there but the oven. I don't do it. I'm not going to tell you to. The lye bath. Sodium hydroxide, the same thing that's in drain opener. It strips old carbon and grease better than anything on earth, and it's the traditional method. It also blinds people. It goes through skin without you feeling it at first. Serious restorers use it with a face shield and elbow gloves and a plan for disposal. If this is your first pan, it's the wrong tool. And on electrolysis, which I will cover, never use stainless steel as your sacrificial plate. Stainless has chromium in it, and running current through it puts hexavalent chromium into your solution. That's a known carcinogen, and it turns a bucket of water into hazardous waste sitting in your driveway. Use plain, mild steel, a piece of rebar, an old license plate that isn't galvanized. I'm telling you the dangerous versions exist because you deserve to hear it from somebody who isn't selling you anything. Here's what I think is sitting in your house right now, and I don't need to see it to describe it. You've got a non-stick skillet on the stove. The coating on it has a scratch through it, maybe 2, running from about the center out toward the edge, from a metal spatula, or from a fork somebody used because it was closer. Around the scratch, the surface has gone slightly cloudy. Eggs stick to that spot now, and they didn't used to. You've started using more butter than you need to compensate, and you don't quite admit that's what you're doing. And somewhere else, a garage shelf, a basement, your mother's house, there is a cast-iron pan with rust on it. You know exactly where it is. You've picked it up twice in the last 5 years and put it back down because you didn't know what to do with it, and you weren't willing to throw it away. That guilt is correct. That pan isn't garbage. Your instinct about that has been right the whole time. You just never got told what to do next. Polytetrafluoroethylene, PTFE, that's the coating. It's a plastic, and it was discovered by accident on April 6, 1938, by a chemist named Roy Plunkett, working for DuPont in New Jersey. He was working on refrigerants. He opened a canister that should have had gas in it and found a slick white powder instead. It is a genuinely remarkable material. It is also a coating, and a coating is a layer sitting on top of something else, and every coating on Earth eventually comes off the thing it's sitting on. A non-stick pan lasts 3 to 5 years in a household that uses it daily. Call it 4. A decent one runs $30 to $40. Over 40 years of cooking, that's 10 pans and somewhere around $350, and 10 pans in a landfill, and none of them can be repaired at any point by anybody. The skillet on my counter is older than my father. It has been repaired, by which I mean re-seasoned, probably 24 times. Its repair cost is about $4 worth of oil. There's one more thing about that coating, and it isn't a rumor. Heat PTFE past about 500 degrees Fahrenheit, and it begins to break down and release fumes. In humans, that causes a documented flu-like illness called polymer fume fever. In pet birds, it's frequently fatal, and that's well established in veterinary literature. An empty pan on a hot burner hits 500 degrees in a couple of minutes. Cast iron has no upper temperature. You can put it in a fire. Griswold Manufacturing poured iron in Erie, Pennsylvania from 1865 until the operation ended in 1957. Wagner Ware ran out of Sydney, Ohio, starting in 1891. Lodge started in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee in 1896, and Lodge is still pouring iron in South Pittsburgh today, 130 years later. Here's the part that matters. Those old foundries did a step that mostly got dropped for cost reasons around the 1950s and 60s. After casting, they machined the cooking surface smooth. That's why the pan on that folding table felt like polished stone under the rust, and why a brand new pan off the shelf feels like fine sandpaper. The new one isn't defective, it's just unfinished, because finishing costs money, and the market decided you wouldn't pay for it. So understand what you're looking at when you see a rusty old skillet at a yard sale for $2. You are not looking at a broken thing that somebody is generous enough to sell you cheap. You are looking at a better product than the current market makes, being sold below the price of a cup of coffee, because the person selling it has been taught that rust means death. Rust does not mean death. And that brings me to the reason why. There are two pieces of chemistry in this whole video, and both of them are simple. The first one is rust. Rust is iron oxide. Chemical formula Fe2O3, meaning 2 atoms of iron bonded to 3 atoms of oxygen. It forms when iron meets oxygen and water. And here is the thing almost nobody says out loud. The iron is still there. It hasn't gone anywhere. It hasn't evaporated. It has simply combined with oxygen and put on a different coat. All you are doing when you derust a pan is taking that oxygen back off. Now the unexpected part. Iron ore, the rock they dig out of the ground to make iron in the first place, is largely hematite. Hematite is Fe2O3. That is the same compound as the rust on your pan. Which means that rusting isn't your pan rotting, it's your pan trying to go back to being ore. And when you stand in your driveway with a bucket and pull the oxygen back off, you are doing in miniature and slowly the exact thing a blast furnace does with coke and 1800 degrees. The second piece of chemistry is seasoning. And this is where most people are carrying a wrong idea around. Seasoning is not oil. Seasoning is not a greasy film. Seasoning is polymerization. You take an oil, heat it past its smoke point, which is the temperature where it starts to break down, and the fat molecules break apart and re-link to each other and to the iron itself, forming a hard, dry, plastic-like layer that is chemically bonded to the metal. It is not sitting on top. It is part of the pan now. And here's the second connection. If you've ever put boiled linseed oil on a wooden tool handle, or looked at an old barn door with a 100-year-old finish still shedding water, that is the same reaction. Linseed oil is flaxseed oil. Oil paint dries by polymerizing. The finish on a Revolutionary War musket stock and the finish on your skillet are chemically the same event. The difference between a coating and a bonded finish is the difference between a pan that lasts 4 years and a pan that lasts 4 generations. 3 things. 1 store, under $13. 1 gallon of plain distilled white vinegar, 5% acidity. Any grocery store, around $3.50. Do not buy cleaning vinegar at 30%. You want the weak stuff. 1 pack of 0000 steel wool, that's 4/0, the finest grade. Hardware store or grocery store cleaning aisle, about $4. Steel wool is fine on bare cast iron. It is not fine on a pan you've already seasoned, so this is a one-time tool. 1 can of vegetable shortening, about $5, or a bottle of grapeseed oil, about $8. Either works. I'll tell you why not flaxseed in a minute. That's it. $12.50, $13. Optional. And only if you're doing several pans or the crust is heavy. A box of sodium carbonate, washing soda, not baking soda. Sodium carbonate is what makes water conduct electricity, about $5, plus a battery charger you probably already own, and a piece of plain, mild steel. That's electrolysis, and I'll cover it in the steps. You'll also want nitrile gloves and, if you're going to run electrolysis, open air, not a closed garage. I'll explain that too. If you've already tried this and it went wrong, if it came out sticky or it flash rusted on you overnight, or the seasoning flaked off in sheets after a month, tell me in the comments what happened and what oil you used. I read them. I'd rather hear about the failures than the successes, because the failures are all 4 or 5 specific mistakes, and I want to know which one is most common. Step 1. Inspect before you spend a minute on it. Run your thumb around the rim and look at it edge on in good light. A crack anywhere means stop. It will fail under heat, and it can fail violently. Set it on a flat counter and press one edge. If it rocks, the base is warped, and food will pool on one side forever. And if the pan smells like solvent or has paint in it, walk away. You don't know what somebody used it for. Step 2. Mix half vinegar, half water in a plastic tub or a sink, enough to cover the pan. Submerge it. Step 3. And this is the one that ruins pans. Check it at 30 minutes. Not 2 hours, 30 minutes. Pull it out, scrub with the steel wool under running water, and look. The acid does not know where the rust stops and the good iron starts. Once it's through the rust, it starts eating the pan and leaves permanent craters. That's called pitting, and there is no fixing it. Most pans need 1 to 3 hours total in 30-minute increments. Some need 20 minutes. Step 4. Neutralize. As soon as the last rust is off, wash it with hot water, dish soap, and the steel wool, and rinse it hard. Yes, soap. I'll come back to that. Step 5. Dry it immediately and completely. Towel, then straight onto a burner on low for 5 minutes until every trace of water is gone. Bare iron with no rust on it and no seasoning will flash rust in about 15 minutes in a humid kitchen. You'll watch it happen. Don't let it. Step 6. Season. Oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Put a thin coat of shortening or oil on the entire pan, inside, outside, handle, bottom. Then take a clean rag and wipe it all back off like you made a mistake. It should look dry, almost no oil left. That's correct. Pan goes in upside down with foil on the rack below. 1 hour. Then turn the oven off and let it cool all the way down inside the oven. That's another hour and a half. Step 7. Do it 3 to 5 more times. Each round is thin. Each round is another bonded layer. After 4 rounds, it's black, and it has a low sheen, and it is done. Total hands-on time is about 40 minutes. Total elapsed time is most of a Saturday, and you're not standing there for it. The electrolysis version, if the crust is too heavy for vinegar, 5-gallon bucket, 5 tablespoons of washing soda, 5 gallons of water. Mild steel plate along the inside wall, not touching the pan. Positive clamp on the steel, negative clamp on the pan. 2 to 10 amps. Outdoors, always. The reaction splits water and releases hydrogen gas. And hydrogen in a closed garage is a bomb waiting on a spark. Run it 4 to 8 hours. The rust comes off as brown sludge, and the pan is untouched because the current only pulls the oxide. Too much oil. This is the #1 failure. A thick coat doesn't polymerize all the way through, and you get a sticky, tacky, varnish-like surface that stays sticky forever. Wipe it off until you think you've wiped it all off. Then wipe again. Oven too cool. Under about 400 degrees, most oils never fully polymerize. You get grease, not seasoning. Flaxseed oil. It's popular because it's a drying oil, and it builds a beautiful, hard black finish fast. It also flakes off in sheets after a few months of real cooking, and you'll be starting over. I used it for 2 years, I quit. Grapeseed, canola, or plain shortening, leaving it wet. 90% of my pan rusted again is a pan that air-dried in a rack. Quenching. Never run cold water into a screaming hot pan. Iron is strong and it is brittle, and thermal shock cracks it. And storing it with the lid on, sealed, in a humid basement. Trapped moisture is worse than open air. Here's the part I want you to sit with. A cast iron skillet is close to the worst product you could possibly design if your goal is a business. It costs about $25 to make. It never wears out. It can be fully repaired by its owner with $4 of oil, and it gets handed to a grandchild instead of being replaced. One sale, 3 generations. There is no repeat customer. A coated pan is close to the best. It cannot be repaired. It fails on a predictable schedule, and the failure is gradual. So the customer blames themselves. You think you scratched it. You think you used the wrong utensil, instead of blaming the design. Now the documented part. And I want to be careful to say only what's on the record. The coating on those pans used to be manufactured with a processing chemical called PFOA, also called C8. In 2006, the EPA launched what it called the PFOA Stewardship Program, and 8 major manufacturers agreed to eliminate it from emissions and products by 2015. That's a public program with a public date. And in February of 2017, DuPont and Chemours agreed to a settlement of about $671 million, covering roughly 3,500 personal injury claims tied to C8 contamination around the Washington Works plant in Parkersburg, West Virginia. That's the record. It's in the court filings, and it's on the EPA's own site. I'm not going to tell you a pan you buy today will hurt you. PFOA is out of the manufacturing. I don't have evidence for that claim, and I'm not going to make it. Here's the claim I will make. The most effective thing ever done to keep people off cast iron didn't cost anybody $1 in advertising. It's 4 words that everybody's aunt repeats. Never use soap on it. That was true once. Soap used to be made with lye, and lye strips seasoning. Modern dish detergent is a surfactant. It removes grease. It does not remove a polymerized layer because that layer isn't grease anymore. It's a bonded solid. So think about what that piece of bad advice actually does. It makes cast iron seem like a fussy, high-maintenance, unsanitary thing that regular people can't be trusted with. It makes the easy pan look hard and the disposable pan look easy. Nobody had to invent that rumor. They just never had any reason to correct it. Maintenance is about 90 seconds after each meal. Cook, eat. While the pan's still warm, hot water, a brush or a chainmail scrubber, soap if it needs it. Dry it with a towel, then 30 seconds on a warm burner. Half a teaspoon of oil, wipe it around, wipe it back off. Hang it or set it on a shelf uncovered. Do that and the seasoning doesn't degrade, it improves. Every meal with fat in it adds another microscopic layer. A pan that gets used every day is better at year 10 than year 1. That is the opposite of every other object in your kitchen. One more thing, and it's a small one. Iron leaches into food, particularly acidic food like tomatoes. A researcher named Christopher Charles at the University of Guelph built a whole line of work around this starting around 2008, testing shaped iron ingots in cooking pots in Cambodian villages to address anemia. And the results across later trials were mixed and modest, so I won't oversell it. But the direction is real, and it's documented. Iron cookware puts some iron in your food, and no coated pan does anything of the kind. Here is the single thing, not a list. 1. This Saturday morning, before you buy a thing, go find a pan. Not online. A Griswold number 8 in this condition sells for $60 to $90 because collectors got there first. Go to a thrift store, an estate sale, or a church rummage sale in the oldest part of your county. Look for 3 things. No crack, sits flat on a counter without rocking, and a cooking surface that's smooth, not pebbled. That one detail tells you it was made before about 1960. Pay under $10. Rust doesn't matter. Rust is the whole reason it's cheap. Then stop at the grocery store on the way home. Gallon of white vinegar, $3.50. Pack of 0000 steel wool, $4. Can of shortening, $5. Saturday afternoon, soak, checking every 30 minutes, until the rust is gone. Wash it, dry it on the burner. Saturday evening and Sunday morning. 4 oven rounds at 450, thin coats, cooling in the oven between each one. Sunday around noon, put a little butter in it and crack an egg. It will slide. Total spend, pan included, under $23. Total hands-on time, about an hour. And what you'll have on your stove is a piece of American foundry work from before the Second World War, that is now better than it was the day it left Erie, Pennsylvania, and that will outlast you, if you let it. Next week I'm doing the axe head. Same box at the same sale, same rust, same rot in the handle. And it's the identical chemistry. I'll show you the electrolysis bucket properly that time, and how to hang a new hickory handle so it never comes loose. If you've got one in the barn, don't throw it out before then. That woman apologized to me for a $2 pan. She'd been told her whole life that rust is the end of something. It isn't. Rust is just iron on its way back to being ore, and the road runs both directions. The iron is still in there. It always was. Go get it out.